Hello Algebra 2. This topic is video 4. I can recognize and factor the special case of difference of squares. And our first question is, how do I factor binomials? And there are two special cases. And this video is talking about special case number 1, difference of squares. And the way that you factor binomials is by looking for patterns. And the pattern that you're looking for with difference of squares is that there should be a subtraction sign. That's why they say difference. And you're looking for a perfect square for both items in the binomial. One thing we need to do is to make sure we understand what a perfect square means. And a perfect square is a number times itself. So if we think of 1 times 1, that would be 1. And 2 times 2, 4. Those two examples are perfect squares. And then the next smallest one would be 3 times 3 would be 9. Go ahead and fill in all of the perfect squares all the way up to 144. Go ahead and pause the video and try that. So here's all the lists of the perfect squares. Now you want to know and recognize these numbers so that when you look to factor them, you can immediately recognize that here 25, that's one of our perfect squares. And the formula that we use for a difference of two squares is a squared minus b squared would be equal to a minus b times a plus b. And we can prove that this would work if we multiply it out. Again, we'll use FOIL. A times a is a squared. And then a times b would be positive ab. Negative b times a would be negative ab. And negative b times b would be negative b squared. So here you can see your two middle terms would cancel out. ab minus ab would be 0. And you would be left with a squared minus b squared. So this will occur, you can use this formula anytime that you have two perfect squares being one being subtracted from the other. And remember, for variables, how you can find a perfect square is, so a squared, remember, be a times a. And a square, perfect square, is that number times itself, or that variable times itself. So that's why a squared is a perfect square. So if we take a look at 4, we can factor out a squared minus 25. I recognize that they're both perfect squares. 25 is one of the ones we listed. And we think about two numbers that would multiply to 25, and that'd be 5 and 5. And two numbers that multiply to x squared, two variables that multiply to x squared, would be x times x. And the only way that they would cancel out their middle terms if one is a minus and one is a positive. Okay. So if you don't like using the formula, then you can use logic to help you find your answer. So a squared minus 25 would be a minus 5 times a plus 5. Okay, the difference with number 5 is now we have a variable at the end. We do have all perfect squares, x squared, 4 is a perfect square, and y squared. So go ahead and pause the video and try this one. Okay, again, to use logic, or again, you can use a formula, but to use logic, what two things would multiply to x squared would be x times x. And we're going to look for something that, the same thing that multiplies by itself to get to 4y squared. So first thinking about 4 would be 2 times 2. And then y squared would be y times y. And the only way they wouldn't have a middle term here is if one is a minus and one is a positive. Okay. Our last one, number 6, is bringing back that knowledge that you have to factor out a greatest common factor. So if we look at 6, we would factor out 2a squared first, because they both have a common factor of 2 and a common factor of a squared. And if we divide 2a squared out from 2a to the 4th, we would get a squared. And then if we divide out from negative 18a squared, a 2a squared, we'd have negative 18 divided by 2 would be negative 9. And a squared divided by a squared would be 1. Now we feel like we're done, but we would keep going because we want to always look to see if there's more factoring opportunities. And here we would. We have another difference of 2 squares. So a squared minus 9 would continue to factor. So we bring down our greatest common factor and then factor our a squared minus 9, which if we use the formula, it would be a minus 3 times a plus 3. Okay, that's it for this video. One more if this is your first time watching it.